In exactly 6 months, the most powerful restaurant heir in downtown Manhattan would be standing in front of a federal judge, stripped of his title, assets frozen, and reputation shattered. But right now, he's swirling a $900 bottle of Bordeaux, laughing too loudly in a luxury restaurant his family owns. He has no idea he just humiliated the one person who could destroy his empire with a single signature. Soft jazz plays under the ambient clinking of glasses. The golden lights of Maison de Verre, Manhattan's trendiest fine dining spot, shimmer like polished pride. The heir, Landon Pierce IV, is 27, impeccably groomed and thoroughly convinced the world belongs to him. Son of the billionaire hotel magnate Pierce Sr., Landon grew up believing every nod, every smile, and every seat in the house was reserved for him. At the next table, quietly sipping her club soda, sits Dr. Maya Ellison, dressed in a simple navy sheath dress. No designer logo, no entourage. Her presence is serene, understated power wrapped in humility. She's waiting for someone, scanning a stack of legal briefs on her tablet and checking her watch. Landon notices her. He doesn't recognize her face, only what she isn't. Not from his circles, not dripping with diamonds, not belonging. And that's where it begins. "Get her a real drink," he says, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. "She looks like she needs it." Laughter ripples. A few heads turn. Maya doesn't flinch. Her eyes stay calm, the kind of calm that unsettles arrogance. The waiter hesitates, uncomfortable. "Sir," she ordered. "I said bring her a glass of the 9009 Chateau Margaux, on me." He grins, raising his own glass toward her with mock chivalry. "A toast to confidence, sweetheart. You'll need it someday." Because she knows something no one else in that room does. Tomorrow morning, she will be sitting across from the Pierce family's legal team as the lead negotiator for the acquisition of their flagship restaurant chain, and Landon Pierce IV will be begging her to save his empire. Where are you watching from tonight? Stories like this remind us that dignity costs nothing, but arrogance can cost everything. If you believe justice always finds its way home, hit that subscribe button and share your city in the comments below. Maison de Verre is more than a restaurant. It's an institution. Polished marble floors, cascading chandeliers, and menus that read like poetry to the wealthy. It's a world where presentation is power. Maya Ellison fits nowhere in Landon's perception of that world. She doesn't need to. She's a self-made CEO, founder of Ellison Equity Group, a private investment firm known for rescuing failing businesses and reforming exploitative leadership structures. Her philosophy is simple. Dignity is the first dividend. But tonight, she's just Maya, anonymous, watchful, taking measure of a place soon to be under her control. Landon, meanwhile, is performing. His laughter slices through the room, polished cruelty disguised as charm. He's hosting a group of investors, boasting about legacy wealth and visionary leadership. Every sentence drips entitlement. Every gesture demands applause. Across the table, his friends laugh on cue, clinking glasses. None of them notice the subtle discomfort of the waiters. They just serve, smile, and endure. Then a waiter accidentally spills a few drops of wine near Landon's sleeve. The room freezes. Landon's jaw tightens. "Do you have any idea how much this jacket costs?" "It was an accident, sir," the waiter stammered. "An accident?" Landon sneered. "That's what broke people say before they lose their jobs." He waves dismissively, but his eyes flick toward Maya, as though performing for her. "Some people just don't understand standards, right?" Maya's voice enters for the first time, calm, low, disarming. Or maybe they understand them differently. Landon turns, surprised that she dare speak. "Oh, and who exactly are you to redefine standards?" Maya smiles. "Just someone who's seen what they can cost." The tension ripples, but she returns to her tablet, signaling the conversation is over.
Landon laughs dismissively, but something in her tone lingers. Later that night, Maya walks through the winter-lit streets of Manhattan. Snow flurries catch the light as she passed skyscrapers built on invisible hierarchies. Her driver opens the car door. "Rough dinner, ma'am?" She chuckles softly. On the contrary, it was revealing. On her tablet glows a confidential file labeled Pierce Hospitality Group Internal Investigation Draft. Beneath it, recommendation, structural overhaul, CEO transfer pending. Her assistant's message blinks. "Ready for tomorrow's meeting, Dr. Ellison?" She types back, "Always." Have you ever watched someone get disrespected and everyone else just stayed silent? What did you do in that moment? Share your story below. Your voice matters. At home, Landon lounges in his penthouse suite, replaying the evening. He scrolls through photos tagged at the restaurant, the image of him raising the wine glass to Maya already trending among his followers with captions like "Savage Move." He smirks. His phone buzzes, a message from his father, Charles Pierce Sr. "Big day tomorrow. Keep your head in the game. The new investors are critical." Landon texts back, "Don't worry, Dad. I always make the right impression." He doesn't realize he already made one, just not the one he thinks. As he pours another glass of wine, a flash of doubt flickers across his reflection, brief, quickly swallowed by arrogance. He hums to himself, toasting his own shadow. Her face is illuminated by the glow of her tablet. Next to it, an old photo, her grandmother wearing a nurse's uniform, smiling in front of a segregated hospital. Maya touches the frame gently, whispering, "We're still claiming rooms they said weren't ours." The city lights blink back like quiet witnesses.
Morning sunlight slants across the marble floors of Pierce Hospitality Group's headquarters, a glass monument to power overlooking the Hudson. The boardroom gleams with intimidation, 12-foot windows, mahogany table, and a skyline designed to remind visitors who runs the city. Landon Pierce IV strolls in 10 minutes late, still in performance mode. His father, Charles Pierce Sr., sits at the head of the table, a man carved from legacy and ego. His suit costs more than most people's annual rent. "Everyone here?" Charles asks, scanning the room. "Let's begin." A senior partner clears his throat. "Not yet, sir. We're still waiting on Dr. Ellison, the lead from Ellison Equity Group." Landon snickers. "Oh, her? Trust me, she'll be easy to spot." Just then, the door opens. Maya steps in, the same serene presence from last night, her navy suit crisp, expression unreadable. The room freezes. Landon's grin falters mid-breath. "You've got to be kidding me," he mutters. "Good morning, gentlemen," Maya says, placing her tablet on the table. "Thank you for meeting with me on time." A few board members exchange confused glances. Charles Pierce's eyes narrow, assessing her instantly, already calculating her significance. "Dr. Ellison," he says, "we've heard good things. I hope today will be productive." "I'm certain it will," Maya replies, smoothly, meeting his gaze. Landon leans back, trying to recover his confidence. "So, this is the strategic partner my father's been hyping? The one who's supposed to fix our books?" "Among other things," Maya says evenly. Landon chuckles. "Right. Well, I hope you know we run things a little differently here, Doctor." Her eyes flicker briefly toward him, a calm, razor-edged acknowledgement. "Oh, I'm beginning to see that." The tension is invisible to most, but the few women and younger analysts in the room notice and sit a little straighter. Halfway through the meeting, Maya outlines a clear reform plan: financial restructuring, fair wage programs, and mandatory diversity audits. Her presentation is sharp, data-rich, and irrefutable. But Landon interrupts at every turn. "Hold on, are you suggesting we cut executive bonuses? Why are we talking about equality metrics in a hospitality brand? This sounds like charity work."
Every interruption is louder, more dismissive, until he's practically performing for the board. He's desperate to reclaim dominance, to make her small again. Maya never raises her voice. Instead, she listens, and when he finishes, she turns a page. "Mr. Pierce, you seem very confident that your current system works. Shall I read from your internal audit results?" He waves her off, scoffing. "Please, those numbers are exaggerated." Charles's eyes dart towards his son. "Charles." But Maya continues, unshaken. "Employee turnover, 46% higher than the industry average. Gender pay gap, 29%. Discrimination complaints, 6 unresolved cases in this quarter alone." Silence. A few board members shift uncomfortably. Landon's jaw tightens. "You have no right." "Correction, I was contracted to have every right." Her tone is steady, factual, not vindictive, but it hits like a thunderclap. Charles forces a smile. "Let's take a short break, shall we?" As the room clears, Landon leans across the table towards her. "You really think you can walk in here and embarrass me? I don't care who you are." She meets his glare calmly. "I'm not here to embarrass anyone, Mr. Pierce. I'm here to help you see what's already broken." "You're in my world," he hisses. She tilts her head slightly. "Not for long." Later that afternoon, Pierce Hospitality is hosting a press event at Maison du Verre, the same restaurant from the night before. The event celebrates their commitment to innovation and excellence. Cameras flash, the media buzzes. Landon, forced to attend with his father, spots Maya in the crowd. She's surrounded by reporters, calm, confident, magnetic. He feels the sting of losing control in his own kingdom. When the speeches begin, Charles gives the spotlight to his son. Landon steps forward, microphone in hand, fake smile polished. "As we look to the future," he says, "we're proud to announce partnerships with new investors who share our values, people who understand what makes real success." He pauses, glancing towards Maya with pointed arrogance. "And let's be honest, success isn't just about numbers. It's about class, knowing your place, respecting the order of things." The room chuckles politely, unsure if it's a joke. Maya's expression doesn't change. Then Landon gestures towards her with mock charm. "Even our new partners could take a few lessons in presentation, right?" A few nervous laughs ripple through the crowd. Photographers capture the moment. Maya stands, composed, refusing to give him the reaction he's fishing for. The humiliation is public now, the insult deliberate. And yet, she simply gathers her notes, nods to a nearby reporter, and walks out gracefully. Her dignity disarms the entire room. Even the waiters, silent witnesses from the night before, exchange glances of quiet respect. Landon smirks, thinking he's won. He hasn't noticed the ripple beginning in the crowd, a PR manager whispering into a phone, a journalist frowning, checking her press notes. That evening, social media explodes. Clips from the event circulate. CEO mocks new investor live on stage. Comments flood in. Some laugh, others are furious. A former employee tweets, "Not surprised, worked under Landon, the culture there is toxic." Another adds, "Finally someone called out their hypocrisy." Maya doesn't engage. She's home, reviewing the next phase of her plan. She understands something Landon never will. Power doesn't need volume, it needs timing. At the same time, in the Pierce penthouse, Charles is furious. "You humiliated us in front of our investors." "She provoked me," Landon shouts back. She's nothing but—" "Stop talking," Charles snaps. "You have no idea who you just disrespected. Ellison Equity controls the arbitration rights to 3 of our top properties." Landon freezes. "What?" Charles exhales sharply. "You just mocked the woman who could legally dismantle half of our holdings." For the first time, Landon's face pales. Late at night, Maya sits by her window, city lights shimmering like constellations. Her assistant video calls in. "Did you see the clip, Maya? It's everywhere." "I did," she says softly. "You're not angry?" Maya smiles faintly. "Anger wastes energy. I'm preparing for tomorrow." Tomorrow? Board vote. Time to make the next move. She ends the call and opens her grandmother's photograph again. Her reflection overlays theirs. 2 generations of quiet strength facing different eras of the same fight. They say justice moves slowly, but when it arrives, it remembers every detail. What would you have done in Maya's place? Walk away or speak out on the spot? Drop your answer below. Every voice teaches someone else courage.
This is where Maya's calm composure gives way to truth. The mask comes off, power shifts, and the audience feels the first real pulse of justice. The next morning dawns cold and gray over Manhattan. At Pierce Hospitality's headquarters, tension thickens like fog. Rumors ripple through the executive floors. The emergency board meeting was called not by Charles Pierce, but by Dr. Maya Ellison herself. Landon arrives late again, wearing defiance like armor. His confidence is fractured, but denial cushions it. "She can't do anything without Dad's approval," he mutters to himself. In the elevator mirror, he adjusts his tie. His reflection looks back, tired, defensive, slightly cracked. Still, he forces a grin. Pierces don't lose. When the elevator doors open, the first thing he sees is Maya, standing at the head of the long boardroom table, composed, centered, surrounded by legal binders marked with the Ellison Equity insignia. Charles is already seated, his face unreadable but his jaw tight. Every board member is present. "Let's begin," Maya says evenly. Maya gestures toward a stack of documents. As of 9 a.m. today, Ellison Equity has officially assumed controlling interest in Pierce Hospitality's debt and restructuring obligations. Landon's jaw drops. What are you talking about?" She meets his gaze. "Your father agreed to a conditional acquisition last quarter. The one you mocked last night? That partnership? It wasn't optional." She clicks a remote and the projection screen fills with charts, signatures, and court-sealed documents. At the top, Ellison Equity Group, official transfer of fiduciary authority. Murmurs fill the room. The attorneys whisper among themselves. Charles exhales slowly. "She's right. It's binding." Landon stares at his father, stunned. "You sold us out?" "You saved us," Charles snaps. "You've been bleeding this company dry with your arrogance. This," he gestures to Maya, "is our only chance." Maya doesn't gloat. Her voice stays calm. "My firm specializes in ethical reform. We don't destroy companies, we rebuild them from within." Landon's face hardens. "You think you can just waltz in and take everything my family built?" Maya tilts her head slightly. "You misunderstand, Mr. Pierce. I'm not taking what you built. I'm saving what you corrupted." She steps closer, placing a confidential report on the table. It bears the logo of the Department of Labor and Civil Rights Division. "While you were mocking waiters and humiliating partners, my team was quietly documenting every instance of wage theft, discrimination, and regulatory breach across your venues. That file has already been forwarded to federal investigators." A stunned silence. Then she adds softly, "And as of 30 minutes ago, your public apology has been drafted under your company's letterhead." Landon laughs, but it's hollow now. "You can't make me do anything." Maya looks at him, eyes like tempered steel. "You really don't remember me, do you?" He frowns, confused. She slides a photo across the table. A black and white image of a small restaurant in Harlem, circa 1998. A faded sign reads Ellison's Kitchen. "That was my mother's place. It was shut down after your father's chain undercut local black-owned eateries using zoning influence and false inspections." Charles flinches. "I was 12,
she continues. I watched her lose everything because powerful men decided dignity was optional. The room is silent except for the faint hum of the projector. So yes, Maya says quietly, I remember exactly what it feels like to be on the receiving end of your legacy, and I've spent my life making sure no one else has to. She turns towards Charles. And now, I intend to rebuild your company the right way, if you have the courage to let me. Charles leans back, the weight of decades pressing on him. His eyes glisten with something almost like remorse. You're her daughter. Maya nods once. Dr. Maya Ellison, economist, former advisor to the U.S. Department of Commerce, CEO of the firm that just acquired your empire. Maya's tone stays professional. Effective immediately, Mr. Pierce IV will step down from his executive duties pending review of his conduct and financial management. Landon stands, slamming his palms on the table. You can't fire me from my own company. Charles's voice cuts in, weary but final. Sit down, Landon. She's right. What? Your behavior has become a liability. The board agrees. The board members nod, some with relief, others with quiet vindication. Maya slides a resignation document toward him. Sign it. You'll remain a shareholder under oversight, but your authority is suspended. His voice breaks. You set me up. Maya's expression softens slightly, not pity, but clarity. You set yourself up. All I did was let the truth breathe. He stares at her, fury mixed with disbelief. You think this makes you better than me? No, she says gently. It just makes me free. The story hits the press within hours. Headlines flash across news feeds. Pierce heir steps down amid misconduct probe. Black woman CEO leads historic hospitality reform deal. Dignity wins. Ellison Equity takes control. Clips from the previous night's humiliation resurface, now paired with her revelation. The internet's tone shifts. Comments pour in from around the world. She handled that with class. This is how you fight back, with grace and facts. Maya Ellison is a name we'll remember. Meanwhile, inside the company, whispers of fear begin transforming into murmurs of hope. Employees exchange cautious smiles. Change suddenly feels possible. As the building empties that evening, Maya gathers her things. Landon stands in the hallway, disheveled, pride shattered. You really think this fixes anything? He says bitterly. You humiliate me, take my company, and think you're the hero? Maya looks at him for a long moment. No, Landon, heroes chase glory. I'm chasing justice. He scoffs. You'll never change people like me. She steps closer, her tone soft but unyielding. Maybe not, but I can change the system that lets people like you thrive unchecked. For the first time, Landon looks away. The arrogance drains, leaving only confusion and shame. Why didn't you just ruin me outright? Maya's reply is simple. Because dignity doesn't need destruction. It needs demonstration. She walks past him toward the elevator. The doors slide open. Before stepping in, she turns once more. The world's watching now, Mr. Pierce. Make your next chapter worth reading. The doors close. He stands alone, the hum of silence echoing louder than applause ever did. Did you see that coming? When power shifts with grace instead of vengeance, it hits differently. Comment below, what moment gave you chills?
Morning news cycles explode like thunder. Screens across the city flash the headline, Pierce heir under investigation for workplace misconduct. Anchors dissect every clip, every quote, every sneer. That smug moment when Landon mocked Maya at the restaurant now replays endlessly. No longer entertainment, but evidence. Commentators weigh in. It's not just a PR disaster, it's a generational reckoning. Dr. Ellison represents a new standard of leadership. The contrast, arrogance versus dignity, couldn't be starker. Within 48 hours, Pierce Hospitality Group's stock drops 12%. Investors demand accountability. The Department of Labor schedules an official audit. And the corporate watchdog, Civic Integrity Bureau, launches an ethics probe into discriminatory practices across the company's luxury venues. For the first time, the Pierce name trembles. In the Pierce penthouse, Charles Pierce Sr. sits in silence as the television replays his son's downfall. The room that once radiated power now feels suffocating. Landon paces. "They're crucifying me. You're just going to let her destroy us?" Charles doesn't answer right away. He's watching Maya's televised interview, her tone measured, compassionate, yet firm. This isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. Systems built on arrogance and exclusion eventually collapse under their own weight. My job is to rebuild what's worth saving, and hold accountable what's not. Charles lowers the remote, sighing. "You know, she's right." Landon gapes. "You're siding with her after everything?" Charles rubs his temples. "I'm facing reality, Landon. We raised you to believe power was a birthright. She's showing us it's a responsibility. Maybe it's time we learned." Landon's voice cracks. "You don't understand what this feels like." His father finally turns, eyes heavy with both anger and sadness. "No, son, you don't understand what it feels like to be humble." 3 days later, Maya stands at the podium of a crowded press room at City Hall. Cameras flash, reporters buzz with anticipation. Behind her, a large banner reads, "Pierce Hospitality Accountability and Reform Initiative." Maya's voice carries calm authority. Today marks a new chapter. For decades, wealth excused misconduct and privilege shielded harm. But from this day forward, accountability will no longer be optional. She outlines sweeping reforms: independent oversight committees for employee equity, restitution funds for wrongfully terminated workers, leadership training grounded in empathy and ethics, transparent salary audits across all subsidiaries. Reporters raise their hands, firing questions. "Dr. Ellison, some critics say you're dismantling an American legacy." "I'm not dismantling it, I'm detoxifying it." Applause breaks out, cautious at first, then rising. Meanwhile, at the back of the room, Landon stands quietly, disguised in a cap and coat. He watches her speak, eyes full of something new, a discomfort that looks a lot like awakening. When she finishes, Maya steps down from the podium and locks eyes with him. For a moment, neither moves. The cameras flash around them, oblivious. She gives him a small nod, not forgiveness, but acknowledgement that growth is still possible. He lowers his head, unable to meet her gaze. The investigations intensify. A month later, the Civic Integrity Bureau releases its findings: systemic discrimination, wage suppression, and falsified compliance reports. Several executives are indicted. In a symbolic gesture, the boardroom where Maya was once mocked now hosts a press briefing announcing Charles Pierce's resignation. The board appoints Maya as interim CEO for the reform transition period. When asked if she'll stay permanently, Maya smiles slightly. "I'm not here for a throne, I'm here for a transformation." Later that evening, Maya returns to the nearly empty Maison de Verre, the same table where it all began. The restaurant, under new management, is quieter now. Employees move differently, with purpose, not fear. Landon walks in, hesitant. No arrogance now, just a man stripped of illusion. "May I?" he asks, gesturing to the seat across from her. She nods. He sits, eyes low. "I've been in therapy. PR insisted at first, but I kept going. Turns out there's a lot I never saw or refused to." Maya listens silently. "I was taught that success meant dominance, that dignity was weakness. But watching you, it broke that narrative." He looks up. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I do want to learn." Maya studies him, her expression unreadable yet gentle. "Learning starts with listening," she says. "If you can do that, redemption might follow." He nods, tears threatening. "I want to start."
For the first time, the same table that once symbolized mockery becomes a place of reckoning and maybe rebirth. Visual cue. Camera pans out, the wine glass between them untouched, light glinting like possibility. The reforms Maya initiates ripple far beyond one company. Her task force uncovers a hidden web of discriminatory licensing and inspection practices, city officials colluding with elite restaurateurs to suppress minority-owned competitors. She doesn't hesitate. She hands the entire file to the district attorney and testifies publicly. Within weeks, several high-ranking officials resigned. The mayor's office establishes an independent economic justice commission. The media dubs it the Ellison effect. And across the country, other industries begin re-examining their own hierarchies. Universities invite Maya to speak. Her phrase, "Dignity is the first dividend," becomes a mantra in corporate reform programs. Months later, Maya receives a handwritten letter. It's from Charles Pierce. Dr. Ellison, when I built my empire, I thought legacy meant permanence. You've shown me it means purpose. My father taught me to conquer. You taught me to repair. I'm stepping away entirely from the board. Landon is learning humility. You gave my family something no amount of money could buy: perspective. Thank you. Charles Pierce. She folds the letter slowly, placing it beside her grandmother's photograph. The weight of history feels lighter now. When systems change, it starts with one person refusing to lose their dignity. Share this story with someone who needs to see that quiet strength can shake empires. Together, we rewrite what power means.
6 months later, the marble atrium of New York City Hall has become a courtroom for accountability. Reporters fill every seat. Live stream feeds broadcast the proceedings nationwide. At the center of it all sits Dr. Maya Ellison, testifying before a bipartisan commission investigating corruption in the hospitality and business regulation sectors. Cameras zoom in as she begins. This isn't about one company, she says. It's about a pattern. For decades, wealth has whispered into the ears of power, convincing it that fairness is negotiable. But dignity, she pauses, is not. The audience is silent, no movement, no coughs. Her voice carries like a bell. She continues, reading from documents that reveal backdoor deals, discriminatory zoning, and funding pipelines that systematically erased small Black-owned establishments from the city's prime districts. Behind her, massive screens display photos, empty storefronts that once belonged to families like hers. Her final line draws audible gasps. If we cannot protect the dignity of those who serve, we do not deserve the luxury of being served. The hearings trigger sweeping change. By executive order, the City Council enacts the Fair Enterprise Restoration Act, requiring every major hospitality brand to undergo annual equity audits and wage transparency reporting. A new oversight body, the Dignity Commission, is formed, chaired by Dr. Ellison herself. Its mission? Reform industries from within through education, not destruction. At the commission's first meeting, Maya looks around the room, a diverse coalition of economists, activists, former service workers, and CEOs willing to change. We can't shame our way to justice, she tells them. We have to teach our way to it. The crowd nods, energized. Her assistant leans over and whispers, "You realize you just started a movement, right?" Maya smiles faintly. A movement, maybe, but really, it's a return to something we lost when profit replaced humanity. The changes ripple outward. Restaurants across the nation adopt dignity-based training programs. Corporate hiring boards begin publishing demographic data publicly. Small business grants are redirected toward marginalized communities. University MBA programs add ethics and equity and leadership courses based on the Ellison model. And then something even more powerful happens. Culture itself begins to shift. Music artists release songs about dignity and justice. Filmmakers create documentaries titled The Ellison Effect.
Public schools introduce her grandmother's story into history curriculums about entrepreneurship and resilience. Maya, once an invisible figure in an expensive restaurant, becomes a symbol of collective awakening. A year later, Maya returns to Pierce Hospitality's headquarters, now fully rebranded under a new name, Unity & Co. The walls that once showcased portraits of powerful white men now display photographs of employees, chefs, servers, janitors, managers, each smiling beside the word dignity. She walks the halls as employees greet her warmly. The energy has changed. In the main conference room, she meets with a new generation of leaders, younger, diverse, and grounded in empathy. Landon sits quietly among them, now serving as Director of Community Outreach. His demeanor is humble but earnest. During the meeting, he presents a proposal for a foundation to provide culinary scholarships for underrepresented youth. When he finishes, the room applauds softly. Maya looks at him, the faintest glimmer of pride in her eyes. "Good work," she says. He nods, voice steady. "You taught me what real leadership looks like." The reform movement doesn't stop at the city's borders. Soon, other countries reach out to replicate the dignity framework. At the United Nations Business Ethics Summit, Maya stands before global leaders. Behind her, a massive screen displays the slogan, "Profit without oppression." She shares data from hundreds of businesses that implemented her reforms: lower turnover, higher employee satisfaction, and record-breaking productivity. But she ends her speech not with numbers, with story. "My grandmother once said, 'They can take your business, but never your worth.' She was right. Worth isn't in what we own, it's in how we honor others while we own it." The assembly rises in a standing ovation. Cameras flash. And for the first time, her grandmother's name, Eleanor Ellison, is spoken on the global stage. 2 years later, the legacy is undeniable. Unity & Co. ranks in the top 10 ethical companies worldwide. The Dignity Commission expands into a national institution, and communities once silenced are now stakeholders in industries that long ignored them. In a televised interview, a journalist asks Maya, "Did you ever imagine your quiet resistance that night, refusing to be humiliated, would lead to this global transformation?" Maya laughs softly. "No, that night I wasn't trying to start a movement. I was trying to keep my dignity. Turns out that's how movements start, one act of self-respect at a time." Back at Maison de Verre, now renamed Ellison's Table, Maya hosts a dinner celebrating the anniversary of the dignity reforms. The room hums with warmth, diverse guests, laughter, authentic connection. On each table, instead of place cards, there's a single word embossed in gold: respect. Maya raises her glass. This isn't a victory, it's a beginning. Landon, seated nearby, smiles. "To dignity." She nods. "To dignity." Everyone raises their glasses. For the first time, the sound of clinking crystal feels like a promise kept. Later that night, Maya returns to her apartment. She sits by the window where her grandmother's photo still rests. A news broadcast hums faintly in the background. Stories of other industries adopting the dignity framework: education, tech, even government. She whispers to the photograph, "We did it, Grandma. Not just for us, for everyone." A tear slides down her cheek, but it's not sorrow, it's legacy. Outside, a billboard glows with her words, "Dignity is the first dividend."
The skyline has changed. Where once only luxury towers stood, new community hubs rise. Restaurants, co-ops, training centers built on the dignity model. The world hasn't become perfect, but it's becoming possible. A drone camera sweeps across Manhattan's west side, catching banners that read, "5 years of dignity." At the new Ellison Institute for Ethical Enterprise, hundreds gather for the annual symposium. Students from every continent fill the auditorium, their faces lit by anticipation. Maya steps on stage. The years have silvered her hair slightly, but her eyes still carry that same serene fire. "We thought reform was the finish line," she says, smiling. "Turns out it was just the starting gun." Applause rises. She gestures toward the screen behind her, stories of graduates who rebuilt their own communities. A Kenyan entrepreneur who created fair trade food chains. A Detroit chef who reopened her grandmother's diner with equitable pay. A South Korean hotel group that adopted the Ellison certification for worker dignity. Dignity, Maya continues, is contagious when people feel seen. Backstage afterward, Maya meets Ava Pierce, Landon's 9-year-old daughter. The little girl hands her a drawing, a restaurant full of people of every color sitting together. Above it, she's written, "Everyone belongs." Maya kneels beside her. "Did your dad help you draw this?" Ava grins. "He taught me the word dignity, said you taught him." From across the room, Landon watches, older now, humbler, sleeves rolled up. His expression is quiet gratitude. Maya looks back at the child. "Then keep teaching it, okay? Even when people forget." Ava nods solemnly. "Promise." The dignity movement doesn't just live in policy anymore, it's become culture. Public service ads show restaurant workers reading poetry about self-worth. Hip-hop artists sample Maya's quotes in protest anthems. Churches, synagogues, mosques hold Dignity Sundays, encouraging fair employment. In one sequence, we see a former Pierce employee opening a cafe that hires single parents, a city inspector publicly apologizing for past corruption, teenagers spray painting a mural that reads, "Respect is revolution." Maya walks by that mural one evening, pausing to watch them sign their names beneath it. One of the teens calls out, "You're Dr. Ellison, right?" She smiles. "Just Maya." He grins back. "Thanks for making grown-ups listen." She laughs softly. "Now it's your turn to speak." 2 years later, in Johannesburg, a massive global conference convenes under the banner Dignity 2030. Representatives from 94 countries share results, lower labor violations, higher transparency, community-owned enterprises. Maya opens the summit with a simple statement. Systems don't change because of rules. They change because people remember their humanity. The crowd erupts. After her speech, a young journalist asks, "Dr. Ellison, what's next?" She thinks for a long moment. "Next, we teach dignity where it's hardest to find. In politics, in prisons, in the mirror." Late that night, alone in her hotel room overlooking the city lights, Maya writes in her journal. "They called it reform, but what we really did was remember ourselves." She closes the notebook and walks to the balcony. Below, 1,000 lanterns float into the sky, each released by attendees in honor of someone they once wronged or lost. She whispers, "For all the quiet ones who stayed kind." Back in New York, Landon hosts the grand opening of the Ellison Pierce Center for Civic Empathy. Reporters crowd the entrance. He speaks humbly. "I used to think legacy meant my name on buildings. Now I know it means leaving the doors open behind me." Maya stands beside him, proud but quiet. When the ribbon is cut, children flood inside to explore exhibits on fairness, equality, and social entrepreneurship. Landon turns to Maya. "You changed my life." She shakes her head. "You changed your own. I just showed you the mirror." 10 years later, a high school classroom studies the Ellison reforms as part of their ethics curriculum. A teacher asks, what was the main idea behind her movement? A student raises her hand. That dignity isn't given, it's practiced. The teacher smiles. Exactly. Outside, in the hallway, a mural of Maya and her grandmother stretches across the wall, captioned, "Worth has no price tag." Maya, now in her 70s, sits in a sun-filled garden outside the Ellison Institute. She's surrounded by young mentees, activists, engineers, poets, listening intently as she speaks. "You'll make mistakes. Power will tempt you. But remember this, dignity isn't loud, it's steady. It survives the noise." One student asks, "Dr. Ellison, after all you've done, do you ever get tired?" She smiles, gazing at the flowers swaying in the breeze. "Only when I forget why I started." Another student leans forward. "Why did you start?" She looks at them all, faces full of promise, and answers softly, "Because someone thought I didn't belong at a table, and now I want to make sure everyone does."
At the next Dignity Symposium, Maya officially steps down as chair. Her closing speech echoes through the hall. Movements don't need monuments, they need continuity. She hands the symbolic pen she used to sign the first Reform Act to a young leader, a woman in her 30s named Ruth Okafor. Ruth takes the stage, tears in her eyes. "We'll carry it forward." Maya nods. "Don't carry me, carry the message." Thunderous applause fills the room as confetti rains down, each piece printed with one word: dignity. Years later, global indices show measurable change. Child labor rates plummet, workplace equality rises, and empathy becomes a leadership metric. Sociologists call it the Ellison era. In a final montage, children reciting the Dignity Pledge at school assemblies, factory owners shaking hands with workers as equals, restaurants displaying plaques certified by Ellison standards. Maya's voice narrating softly. Power isn't a throne, it's a table big enough for everyone. Back in her apartment, Maya sits once more by the window with her grandmother's photo. The city hums outside, still imperfect, still alive. She whispers, "We're getting there." A text arrives from Ava Pierce, now grown. "I got accepted into the Institute. Thank you for opening the door." Maya smiles, tears glinting in her eyes. She types back, "It was never mine to keep. It was ours to share." She closes her eyes as jazz music drifts in from the street below, a familiar melody. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share it, start a conversation, mentor someone who's overlooked. Real change begins when we treat every person with dignity, no matter where we sit at the table.
The world can remember what it forgot, that worth isn't earned through wealth, but proven through how we treat others. The waiter from the restaurant, now managing his own cafe. The journalists who first covered the story, now mentors to young reporters. And Landon Pierce, quietly volunteering at a youth center. Over these images, Maya's voice echoes. Every system that ever failed us began with someone deciding another person's dignity was negotiable. But dignity is never for sale. The words linger. The camera pans to a massive dinner table stretching across a rooftop. Dozens of people sitting together, eating, laughing. No reserved sections, no velvet ropes, just humanity. Children serve elders, executives pour wine for janitors, strangers share bread. In the center seat sits an empty chair, a symbol for anyone who's ever been excluded. A placard on it reads, "Reserved for the next person we almost forgot." Maya's narration continues. Every system that ever failed us began with someone deciding another person's dignity was negotiable. But dignity is never for sale. The camera cuts to a series of quiet, personal moments of courage. A teacher stopping bullying in a hallway, a nurse treating a patient without judgment, a CEO choosing fairness over profit, a teenager defending a classmate online. Maya's voice, "Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper. Someone saying, 'I see you,' when the world refuses to. Sometimes it's walking away from cruelty with your head held high. Sometimes it's forgiving, not to excuse, but to evolve." The phrase, "I see you," repeats softly, layered over itself, until it sounds like a chorus of thousands. Back in her office, Maya writes her final address to the Dignity Commission. Her handwriting is steady, looping. Systems forget what souls remember. That leadership without empathy is just control in disguise. We are all custodians of one another's worth. My grandmother taught me that justice doesn't need noise, it needs persistence. So keep building the world that arrogance can't enter. She signs it, closes the notebook, and places it on her shelf beside a stack of her grandmother's old recipes. For a moment, she just sits in the silence, the kind that isn't empty, but sacred. A new day,
a cleaner skyline, a sense that humanity, bruised but learning, is trying again. We see the waiter flip the sign on his cafe door from closed to open. We see Ava Pierce, now an adult, teaching young entrepreneurs. We see a mural across a brick wall. Dignity lives here. One woman reminded the world that power doesn't have to wound to matter. And because she did, millions learned to build without breaking others. You've just witnessed a story about power, prejudice, and redemption. But here's the truth. This isn't fiction. It's a reflection. Somewhere right now, someone's dignity is being tested. A worker ignored, a student mocked, a voice silenced. The question isn't whether injustice still exists, it's whether we still notice. Maya's story reminds us that you don't have to be rich to have power. You just have to recognize your humanity and protect it in others. Because when dignity becomes everyone's responsibility, justice stops being optional. We'll keep telling these stories until no one's humanity is treated like a privilege. If this story stirred something in you, let that feeling move. Speak up, step in, share this, change a policy, mentor someone who's unheard. Because the story doesn't end when the screen fades to black. It begins again every time we choose dignity over dominance. Dignity is not a word. It's a world we build together. The faint sound of clinking glasses echoes one last time. Not mockery this time, but harmony.